welcome to this edition of Stream On. I'm Jim Williams, your host, and it's not often that I have a guest who defies belief, but this week we have Adam Trent. Now, Adam Trent is, without question, one of the most amazing illusionists on the planet. He is absolutely fun. He makes magic enjoyable again. If you haven't seen his Netflix show, which is Road Tricks, I'm telling you, it's a must-see, highly recommend, awesome program. If you're in the greater New York area, anywhere along the I-95 corridor, for the next month, he is going to be performing on Broadway with the Illusionists, for other amazing magicians, all applying different types of magic. So by all means, check out the Illusionists. They are at the Marquee Theater in New York through December 30th. And without any further ado, I got to tell you, I'm very excited, Adam, that you're back on Broadway with the Illusionists. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the show?
Yeah, so what the show is, it's five illusionists from all different parts of the world, and each one kind of does their own different style and type of magic. So we have manipulation in the show, we have close-up magic, we have stage illusion, we have, I do kind of futuristic audience participation stuff. It's kind of a mixture of everything.
This is an amazing situation. I mean, you're with some of the best in the business, and you have some of the most amazing things I've ever seen done. Those people who haven't seen the Road Trick on Netflix, highly recommend it. It's amazing stuff. What do you think? What do you think, Adam, draws all of us to illusions, to magic, to tricks? I mean, it's just a universal thing. Doesn't matter how old you are, how young you are. You're fascinated by the fact that, you do things that we just cannot explain.
Yeah, I think it's just a really fun thing for people. It's something that kind of shocks them and takes them out of their everyday life and, kind of surprises you and makes you feel different than you expected to feel. So, I mean, to me, magic, the first time I saw magic, it completely ruined my day almost. I was at a theme park and a guy put a card in my hand and the card changed to a different card. And for the rest of the day, I mean, I was on roller coasters and I was like, all I could think about was that dang card that changed in my hand. So, I think it's a cool thing like that changes the arc of your day.
Now, you got started early. You were, 8 years old when you began?
I was, yeah. And yeah, so I kind of showed an interest in it. I saw that magician at the theme park. I saw David Copperfield. Then I got a book on magic when I was about 8 and started that way. Started doing like little kids' birthday parties and things like that and just went from there.
Wow. So now back to Broadway. This is not the first trip you've had on Broadway. This is, how many times has the Illusionist been on Broadway in your limited runs?
So the Illusionists have been on Broadway this is our fourth year on Broadway. This is my third time doing it, personally.
What's it like to do a magic show on Broadway?
It's special. I mean, I think just being in New York City in general is a really special thing. It's one of the most prestigious places in the world to perform, and I think for any performer, whether you're a magician or not, being on Broadway is kind of a life goal.
Well, obviously you have attained the goal, and with good reason. What gave you the idea for the Road Trick?
So that was one of those things. I've always been fascinated with formats. As far as television, David Copperfield, as far as television goes, had a specific format of shooting live shows in the theater. And David Blaine came along and kind of changed all that, and his whole thing was in a T-shirt on the street. And then as of late, there's been series like the Carbonaro Effect, where it's hidden camera magic for people that don't know they're actually seeing magic. So for me, I was just kind of thinking, what is the next format of magic that hasn't been done? And with the Road Trick specifically, for people who haven't seen it, it's a show on Netflix right now. And basically, what it is I use magic as an icebreaker to kind of trick my way across Europe and create amazing experiences. So with that specifically, I was really thinking, like, what if magic was not the end of a scene but the beginning of a scene? So many magic specials, magician walks up to somebody, they do a trick for them, and then the scene kind of ends. Whereas I was thinking, like, what if me doing the trick for somebody was just the beginning of the whole adventure, and everything that followed after that. You know, the way that it made them feel, the way that it made them open up, the way that it made them want to show me something that was amazing. That's really what the show is about, not necessarily the magic. So it's kind of it's like an Anthony Bourdain style, travelogue, but using magic as the icebreaker.
We'll be back with more with Adam after this from BMW and the i3 electric car.
Life is about making decisions. At BMW i, we decided it was time to reinvent the car from the ground up, making sure we were open for truly innovative ideas. We decided that the car we wanted must be electric, and it should be made of extremely light and super strong carbon fiber. And finally, we decided to make it more intelligent and added our promise of incomparable driving pleasure. We made all these decisions to offer you a choice. The all-electric BMW i3.
Now back to more of Stream On. I notice, and without giving away much, so that we don't spoil anybody who hasn't seen the Netflix show, and again, highly recommend Road Trick. It is amazing. You're in Budapest, and you decide you want to go out, and you decide it'd be fun to go to a dance club. And one evening, you try not to have to pay the cover charge by asking the person at the gate if you could show them the most amazing trick, if that would get you in. And without telling anybody what happened, you got in. And all night long, you kind of worked your way through and just had what seemed to be an outstanding evening. And people just loved everything you did. It was just, and so that point that you're talking about, which is the connecting with people. Yeah, the trick is important and fun, but you then get to people just suddenly, you're like an old friend to them.
Yeah, I think that's really what was cool about the show was that, I met so many amazing people along the way, and I think magic is a special thing that really does open up people and change people in a way that it's hard to do by just saying hi to somebody. And it's like I feel like, to me, magic has always gotten me out of so many sticky situations, whether it's customs and border patrol going into Mexico. I remember I was down there, right, and they popped open my suitcase and they were going through all my magic stuff and they weren't going to let me through, and then I started showing them a magic trick, and it was like seeing all these hardened border security people get turned into little kids instantaneously. It does have a way to affect people and change people, and the road trick really just kind of capitalized on that.
Well, and again, you were talking about the Anthony Bourdain type situation. It's very true in what you've done on the road trick. It's just such a fun thing to watch because you're not overtly, going out there and just doing funny things. You're connecting with people and having fun, and it's like I think anyone who would want to take a trip across Europe would love to be able to do it the way you did it.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully it inspired a few people.
Yeah. What are some of the places that you found the most interesting on your trip?
God, there were so many. I mean, people always ask me what was my favorite city or what was my favorite part. I can't narrow down to one, but there's a handful. Going into the catacombs underground in Paris. Basically, people don't know. Paris has this kind of whole underworld to it. It's all
the entire city under the city.
The entire city under the city, and I went down there and they took me around there. I went on the back of a pickup truck out to the middle of the Saharan desert with a shaman who, kind of performed a white magic, black magic type of, local custom, local cultural thing that they don't normally do for tourists. I went on rooftops with a graffiti artist. I got on a yacht party in Monte Carlo. There were so many fun experiences that, it's hard for me to sum it down to one, but there were so many life-changing moments.
Sure. What about from the standpoint of are you constantly attempting different things to put into the show? What is, from your standpoint, what's the next big thing? Are you trying desperately to do different types of illusions? And if so, you're constantly testing things out just to see if it would work?
Yeah, I'm personally working on the next TV format right now. So the road trip was really fun, but I think there's even more to be kind of shown on television with magic that hasn't been seen before. So I'm developing a new television project right now, and other than that, I still tour with my own show. I do probably 75 cities a year across the country, so I'm constantly doing that. And then I jump in the Illusionists probably once a year for Broadway or something like that. But I'm kind of just pursuing things on several fronts. I think that not only as a magician, but as any kind of entertainer, you kind of have to have so many irons in the fire at once, because I feel like the whole industry, as well as just the whole medium of how consumers consume entertainment, is changing so quickly that kind of need to be all places at once.
Sure. I mean, there's so many different platforms. From your standpoint, obviously the Broadway show, The Illusionists, is helpful and fun and fulfilling, and obviously major kudos to you. The Netflix series was fantastic. Do you expect that the new series will also be on Netflix or a streaming service?
To be determined. I'm so early in the process right now that it's hard to say where these things end up. Sure. I guess the best way to answer that is whoever's the most excited about it.
Yeah, keep an eye open and we'll find it somewhere.
Exactly.
The great thing about that, though, is with the streaming services, with Amazon, with Hulu, with with Netflix and so many others, it does give people with content like yours an opportunity to showcase it in a way that in the old days of network TV, it would be very difficult to do.
Totally. I think that's the cool thing with these services. It's kind of it's like a no holds barred thing. It doesn't have to be 22 minutes or 44 minutes. It doesn't have to have commercial breaks inserted in. It doesn't have to necessarily be clean or, be censored. It can kind of just be what it needs to be.
From a travel standpoint, you say you're on 70, you do about 70, 75 dates a year. Is that a difficult situation for you to be on the road so much?
A bit, I certainly do find the travel is the best and worst part of the job. It depends on the place, depends on the time, depends on the mindset. But I've been traveling pretty much nonstop since I was about 20 years old. So for me, I'm very used to it, and I really enjoy traveling. I like it a lot. I also like being home, but it's one of those. It's part of the job, So I enjoy going out and meeting new people still, and more than anything, just doing the live show.
Who are some of your favorite illusionists when you're growing up? Copperfield, you mentioned earlier.
I always loved David Copperfield. Yeah, I always loved David Copperfield. His specials were like the coolest thing to me. So he was always one I looked up to probably more so.
From a magic standpoint, from an illusion standpoint, you do a lot of electronic things and things that are very, very out there. What brought that to you? Was it interest in electronics and other things, or what was it just the fact that you thought that might be a different way to do your craft?
Honestly, it was more so of an interest in music, and I would go to these concerts. Back in the day, I went to like the NSYNC and Backstreet Boys concerts, and I saw them using these LED walls and these kind of cool effects, and they were spectacular. They were amazing. And I always thought, man, they were so magical, but they stopped just short of being magic. So that's kind of where the inspiration for a lot of these things come from is other forms of entertainment, looking at them and saying, well, that's interesting by default. How can I apply that to magic and make it entertaining and put it in a magic show? So that's kind of where a lot of that inspiration comes from.
Which is more difficult to do, Broadway and to a large audience that are in the building, or television where you're in a much more intimate situation?
It's different. Each one has its own challenges. I'm more used to doing live shows, and it's different. I mean, like yes, in some sense, people say, well, when you do it live, you gotta, it's harder to do it live because you only get one shot, whereas television, you can do it several times. That's true, but also on television, there's a different set of, you can't misdirect a camera. The camera never blinks,
sure.
and people will watch it back several times. So even though you have several takes to get it right, someone will watch a YouTube clip 40, 50 times, pausing at one frame and freeze framing certain moments. So it does have to be perfect. So, it's kind of hard to say which one's easier, but it's just different challenges for each.
It's funny. One of the first things I saw you do was a clip on an Ellen show where you did the iPhone and made it show up in a cantaloupe, I believe it was. We didn't really focus in on the melon, so I can't say whether there's a cantaloupe or whatever, but fascinating stuff. And, from that point forward, it was like, wait a minute, I need to see more of this guy. So, absolutely.
Thank you very much.
I think that, the fun part of watching the show, and again, do recommend you check it out, folks, on Netflix. And if you're in New York, by all means, what we want to do is sell some tickets to the Illusionists. So get out there and check it out. What theater are you in?
It's at the Marquee Theater, and we run until December 30th. And then the Illusionists go out to Canada, and I go back on my own tour. And I got some shows in New Jersey coming up in end of January and whatnot. So I'm around the area as well. But yeah, the Illusionists ends December 30th. All
right. So you got a limited amount of time, folks, about a month to get out there and see it. By all means, get out to the Broadway theater and see the Illusionists. It'll be a lot of fun and a family thing. So definitely get out and take your family out to see the Illusionists. Before we go here, one of the things I think is most entertaining about the work that you do is that you do like to interact with people. And I think that magic, illusion, whatever you want to call it, as you said, when you were 8 years old or so, when you went to the theme park and saw what happened, I think that one-on-one, situation where you're watching even the guys who show you how to play 3-card Monte, right? I mean, the street guys, it's just such an intimate thing between the person who is performing and the audience. Even though you may be sitting in a crowd, if you're watching on television, there's still an intimacy to the illusion and to magic, which I don't think there is in many other forms. Perhaps music, I guess, would be another avenue, but very, very few forms allow for that.
Totally, absolutely. I think that's one of the cool things about magic is that you get to experience it. And in our show, there's lots of audience participation, and there's nothing cooler than having magic happen on your own hands.
Without question, Adam. Tell you what. Why don't you tell us how we can follow you on social media and how we can follow, your show, so that if folks want to be, we already talked about Broadway, but if you're on tour and you're in an area near them, how can we track you and make sure that we get to see you?
Yeah, so all of my social media is just at Adam Trent Magic. Adam, my first name, Trent, my last name, and Magic, what I do, Adam Trent Magic. And then my website is adamtrent.com. And that's got my whole tour schedule of, stuff with the Illusionists, also stuff on my own, and also information about, the road trick on Netflix. So, come see a show and say hello afterwards. And
without question, check out the Netflix show. It is awesome. Adam, thanks so very much.
Thanks, buddy. Cheers.
Special thanks to our guest, Adam Trent. And without question, if you're anywhere on the I-95 corridor from Washington, D.C. up to Boston, definitely make a trip down to New York and catch the Illusionists on Broadway at the Marquee Theater. They're going to be there through December 30th. You will not be disappointed. Now, if you can't make it to Broadway this time of the year, not a problem. By all means, check out his outstanding show on Netflix, which, of course, is called Road Tricks. Okay, so Road Tricks on Netflix. And if you can get to Broadway, without question, the Illusionists at the Marquee Theater through December 30th. Many thanks to Adam Trent. We'll be back with more of Stream On right after this from BMW.
Life is about making decisions. At BMW I, we decided it was time to reinvent the car from the ground up, making sure we were open for truly innovative ideas. We decided that the car we wanted must be electric, and it should be made of extremely light and super strong carbon fiber. And finally, we decided to make it more intelligent and added our promise of incomparable driving pleasure. We made all these decisions to offer you a choice. The all-electric BMW i3.
Welcome back to this edition of Stream On. I'm Jim Williams, your host. Now, if you've not yet taken the opportunity to join the over 50,000 people who've already signed up for and subscribed to the podcast, well, first of all, shame on you. Second of all, we certainly make it simple. Go to the iTunes store. We're part of the Apple Podcast family. Same is true with Google. Go to the Google Play Store and find us in the Google Podcast group. You can also find us on Spreaker, Stitcher, Spotify, TuneIn, iHeart, and, of course, YouTube, just to name a few. If you can't find us, believe me, it's very simple. Just find us on Google. Just go out there and Google Stream On with Jim Williams. Hit the favorite button and the subscribe button, and each week you'll get a brand new copy of the show sent to your tablet, to your phone, or to both. So please go out there and do that for us today. We are very appreciative of your listening. Thanks so much. All right. Speaking of thanks to Adam Trent, who, without question, is one of the most entertaining people on the planet. If you are anywhere along the I-95 corridor this holiday season, check out the Illusionists on Broadway at the Marquee Theater through December 30th. You will not be disappointed. Also, check out the Netflix show that Adam has, which is outstanding. Highly recommend. Road Tricks. Okay, so check it out on Netflix. Check him out live at the Marquee Theater, Broadway, through December 30th. Coming up next week, we will begin the process of looking at everything holiday that you can stream, and believe me, there is tons of that content. We'll start with Hanukkah, which begins, of course, on Monday. We'll take you through Christmas, Kwanzaa, and all the way to the New Year. So the next 3 shows, we're going to focus on the holidays and all that can be streamed. So by all means, tune in for that. All right? Well, for everybody here at Stream On, I'm Jim Williams, wishing you a happy and a safe weekend. Until next time, thanks for joining us right here on Stream On.